Hey, Giants fans, welcome back to the Empire State Sports Report. I'm your host, Adrianna, also known as New York Giants fangirl on social. I have a very special guest today. I am joined by Bleav in Broncos host, Patrick Chiotti, and we are going to preview Giants versus Broncos on Sunday. This podcast is brought to you by Bleav Network and FanDuel Sportsbook. Patrick, welcome. Very excited to have you.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. Really excited for this game. It's going to be a big game for the Broncos, getting Demaryius Thomas into the Ring of Honor. Very
Awesome.
meaningful. And, you got a good young Giants team. They're hungry coming into the Mile High, so it's going to be a fun one.
Definitely. And I think a lot of Giants fans for the first time since the Chargers game are feeling like maybe we can win 2 games in a row. Maybe we have some reasons to be optimistic here, but Sean Payton is no slouch. He's a damn good coach. So, I think ultimately this is going to come down to a coaching battle of how they put the players in a position to succeed. So I want to start with this. Giants fans are familiar with your guard, former tackle, now guard Matt Pert, who ended up on IR this week after an injury. So I saw you guys made a roster move. You have a new guard that was added to the roster. Tell me a little bit about this offensive line. And do you have any concerns knowing that I think this is the 3rd string guard that you're going to have in there?
Yeah. They did put Matt on IR. They called up Calvin Throckmorton from the practice squad, so they signed him to the active roster. We don't know yet who it's going to be. A lot of people are thinking it could be Alex Palczewski. He's kind of been our swing tackle, kind of that extra tackle that Sean likes to use in his big sets. But that is definitely a concern. This Giants defense on paper is one of the scariest units in the league. I mean, their front 7 are very dangerous, and especially when it comes to that interior pressure, that's where a lot of teams are going to be targeting. They targeted Pert last week. He got hurt early, got a couple holding calls. So it's definitely still an area for concern. With this offense needing to get the passing game going and keep the run game going, that's a really important position. Ben Powers was probably one of the he was a top 15 guy as far as like run block win percentage and pass block win percentage. So that's a big hole that they're going to be missing there. Looking forward to seeing who is going to step up. But, if it is Throckmorton, he's not too bad in the run, but he's definitely going to give up some pressures. Palczewski's just a young guy, but he's definitely hungry, and they like him a lot. So that's definitely going to be an area where I'm watching because I need J.K. Dobbins to have a good game against this defense.
Yeah. And one thing that we saw last week was that the Broncos struggled a little bit with the Jets against the run. They weren't able to run the ball that much. Do you expect to see that change quite a bit this week, knowing that the Giants' run defense isn't as great?
Yeah. I mean, this Giants defense, when they're on the road, just looking at my numbers here, they allow the 7th most rush yards per game on the road. That's something that the Broncos offense definitely has to take advantage of, but having a new left guard there is definitely going to be tough because there's not a lot of synergy. Guys are playing with one new piece. That's definitely tough. So gotta just focus on getting the run established early in this game. Last week, they threw the ball 20 times in the first half. That's just too much passing, honestly. With J.K. Dobbins running the way that he is running, they definitely need to figure out some schemes that work against this team and just control the clock early. You can't have a close game like you did last week, especially against Jackson Dart and Scadaboo, who are, when they get the opportunity, they're gonna catch rhythm. They're gonna get going. They're high energy guys, so definitely want to keep them off the field. But got to get the run game going early with them.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, that's something that the Giants defense has struggled with quite a bit, even though the Giants brought in Shane Bowen to fix that. He hasn't exactly done that yet. But another familiar face on the Broncos is, of course, tight end Evan Ingram, former New York Giant.
Yeah.
One of the things that the Giants also have struggled with for, I swear, as long as I've been a Giants fan, it seems like they can't ever cover the tight end. Dallas Goedert, even back to Jason Witten, like we as Giants fan know that this is a problem. I expect that Sean Payton has seen that on tape and he's going to try and take advantage of it. Do you think this is going to be a big game for Ingram?
Yeah, I mean, last week they got him way more involved than he has been, in previous weeks, and we're starting to see his role kind of grow and increase on a week by week basis. Bo's starting to get really comfortable with him, and Sean really trusts him in running choice routes and in short yardage situations. Bo's been throwing tight window throws to him as well, so it's good to see him get a little more involved after a slow start. He was dealing with an injury, what's new there, but this is going to be an opportunity for them to really get him involved. Giants defense has been allowing the seventh most passing yards per game on the road. So definitely an opportunity where, they're going to be keying Sutton. They're going to be keying Troy Franklin. Let's get Evan Ingram in the middle of the field, give him some opportunities to get some quick yards.
Yeah, and as we've seen from the Giants so far this year alone, they're 0-3 on the road. Doesn't matter where they are. They've managed to lose all of them. So this one is definitely going to be a challenge. One thing that I thought was interesting with the Broncos versus Jets game is that, the Jets defense has been pretty hit or miss, but a lot of teams excelled on offense against the Jets this year and put up, 25, 30 points. So talk to me about what you think the Broncos are going to do this week and how much they're going to try and switch up the game plan from Bo Nix's perspective. Because I saw some complaints from Broncos fans and they felt like Peyton was getting a little too pass happy and doing some things that maybe they felt like was unnecessary based on Nix's skill set and so forth.
Yeah, well, I think, last week specifically, the final score being what it was, they only put up 13 points, right? Well, if we look back at some of their drives where, they're converting first downs, but then penalties, that's the big thing. And it's been the big thing. They're one of the most penalized teams in the NFL. Doesn't matter which side of the ball you're looking at. So they've really just got to figure out how to play cleaner football, especially on offense, because you're getting big plays from Nix. You're just getting them negated. And I think that does not help him when it comes to staying in rhythm. That does not help him staying confident, because, he's got a plan. If he's going to execute, he's going to move on to the next thing. But then you suffer a setback. And so then you have to restart. And that's the quarterback mentality has to be on to the next play, on to the next play, on to the next play. But there is some, I will agree with Broncos fans that there was a bit of Sean Payton getting in his own way as a play caller. There was a bit of you threw the ball 20 times in the first half and then you come out and you only throw it 3 times in the third quarter. What the heck are you doing? So it's more so about Payton just getting out of his own way, and putting his quarterback in a better position to succeed. They've been one of the worst teams in the league as far as, their third down length, right? Their third down distance is one of the highest in the league. So they're consistently behind the sticks, and you just can't operate an offense that way. When it comes to Bo's skill set, they've been really just getting the ball out quickly, a lot of screens. They're one of the most screen happy teams in the league. And a lot of fans around the league will say, well, Bo's not really throwing it downfield that much. Well, they've got a good screen game. I would like to see him throw the ball downfield a little bit more, open up some more of those quick pass opportunities, especially with Ingram, like we talked about. And they've found a gem in Pat Bryant, who Sean Payton compared him to Michael Thomas. And we saw a little bit of that against the Jets. Some really quick backside slants that Pat took for good gains. So just want to see more involvement, more consistency from this offense, and stop the penalties. That's going to kill them, especially against this team. Can't let Jackson Dart get the ball.
Yeah, us Giants fans have seen similar things from our offense. I don't know if you watched the season opener, but James Hudson, 4 tackles or 4 penalties on one drive. So that's been something that the Giants have struggled with as well. So hopefully both teams can kind of clean that up a little bit this week. I want to switch gears to the Broncos defense because, one of the reasons why Dart has been so successful is because him and Scat have both been able to run the ball. And, the Giants are going to have a healthy Tyrone Tracy, which is going to help this week. But I think they're going to really struggle against this run defense. So based on what you've seen from the Broncos, tell me a little bit about this run defense and why you think it's been so good. I mean, the Jets, Justin Fields it's one of his best capabilities is the fact that he can run. And I think he had 7 rushes for 31 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this run defense for the Broncos is just a monster. I mean, this unit is an absolute beast. And they got back one of their best pieces last week in Malcolm Roach, and he made a big statement, big impact against the Jets. With the Giants offense running, the majority of their runs are going inside. And that's just, it's not going to do it against this team. You got Zach Allen, you've got Malcolm Roach, you've got DJ Jones, all of which are 3 of the best interior run defenders in the league. But then you add in Uwazurike, who has been playing lights out so far this season. He's been getting consistent pressure. That was definitely a point of emphasis for the Broncos going into the season. After losing to Buffalo in the playoffs, they just got bullied up front. They needed to get bigger. They needed to get stronger. I feel like they're doing extremely well in gap discipline. And this is just going to be one of those weeks where the Giants need to figure out how to get the ball outside. You cannot just continue to hammer it inside. As much as Scadaboo is going to, put his head down and be that battering ram, you're going to be running into a lot of beef. So it's going to be a challenge for this offense. And I know Jackson Dart is one of the highest quarterbacks in terms of like quarterback designed runs. And I think that's going to have to be something that they really incorporate. But the Broncos defense has been doing a good job of keeping up with quarterbacks who can scramble. They shut down Jalen Hurts. Justin Fields, they did a pretty good job of shutting him down. So this is going to be one of those games where Brian Dable is going to have to come out with a really strong game plan to get the ball outside. So if that means getting Scadaboo involved in the passing game, Broncos linebackers are not very good at covering running backs out of the backfield. However, Dre Greenlaw is going to be back this week. He will be playing in this game. So that's a big boost to the Broncos defense. Will he be on a snap count? Probably. We're still going to see a lot of Singleton and Stranad, but those guys have been attacked out of the backfield, and they are slow to get to the flats. They cannot cover the wheel route out of the backfield. So maybe you get Tracy involved in the pass game. Maybe you figure out some different unique ways to get Scadaboo involved in the pass game. This is just it's a tough defense. I will say, though, I was looking over the numbers, and the first 3 weeks for the Giants, and I think this is an area that they really improved in. The Broncos defense is currently leading the league in sacks by a margin of 10. One of the highest, quarterback pressure teams in the league. But the Giants have been solving this quarterback pressure problem on a week-by-week basis. Weeks 1 through 3, they had a combined 51 quarterback pressures. Since then, since Jackson Dart took over, they're at 35 over their last 3 games. So they've cut it way down. And that's kudos to Jackson Dart getting the ball out quickly, them having a much stronger run game. So it should be a good matchup, but this defense is just tough. They are really tough. Benito and Cooper are one of the best edge duos in the league. They're going to be going after Jackson Dart with reckless abandonment. It's going to be a tough one. So get the ball outside, get Scadaboo involved in the pass game, get Tracy involved in the pass game, just get the ball out quick. I think that would be the best key for success for the Giants offense.
Yeah. One of the things that I would like to see them do too is elevate Dante Miller. His nickname is Turbo, because he's throughout the summer and preseason was a really great right-hand man for Jackson Dart. He's the fastest out of all of the wide receivers and the running backs on this team. And like you said, you got to get the ball out quick, and you have to be able to make plays once you have the ball in your hands. And I think Turbo will be a guy who'd be able to do that for them. So I'd like to see that. But you mentioned the offensive line with the pressure decrease. And it's our beloved Andrew Thomas. Thank God that we have him back. If we had to play Benito this week without him, I would be freaking out. But I think that's going to be a really good matchup to watch, is Andrew Thomas versus Benito. But Benito isn't the only one who is getting this defense 30 sacks. So one of the beefs that I have had with Shane Bowen is that all throughout the summer at training camp, I saw him blitzing linebackers, corners, safeties, everyone, plus the edge rushers and the defensive linemen. Vance Joseph is doing that with you guys, and Shane Bowen's not doing it with us. So I'm a little worried that even if Andrew Thomas can handle Benito, which I think he can, we have to worry about everyone else coming our way. So how are we supposed to prepare for this as a team besides getting the ball out quickly. And, we might not have Darius Slayton this week. So there's definitely some question marks around this offense. We might not have JMS, which I think some Giants fans will be happy about, but, we're going to have Schlotman as our center. So it's going to be a tough battle.
Yeah. And I mean, as an offensive coordinator myself, like I would hate to have to game plan for Vance Joseph every week. This is a guy who brings such unique pressure looks and really is not scared to bring it all in the craziest of situations. I mean, 3rd and long, we saw him do it against Philly a few times. 3rd and long, he's bringing the house. Cover 0, just trusting his 3 guys deep and bringing the house. I mean, this is a guy who's just a sick individual when it comes to his defensive philosophy, but it's the trust that he has in guys like Pat Surtain, in guys like Riley Moss, Jahdae Barron, the rookie. Like, he trusts those guys back there. He got some good pieces this offseason as well. Talanoa Hufanga has been arguably the best defensive addition for this team in the last few years as far as free agents go. He's a guy that has been absolutely lights out. He's kind of quarterbacking the defense back there as a safety, which you love to see. But this is a nightmare for any opposing offense, not just for the Giants, but for anybody, because they have the speed and the personnel to get it done. And it's not just Benito and Cooper. You've got Ellis and Tillman, who are rotation guys who can come in. John Franklin Myers, another guy who can rotate in and be a really strong pass rusher. With Greenlaw coming back, that's going to be another big one, right? Brandon Jones has been locking stuff down in the deep part of the field, and he's a guy that has really good range. PJ Locke is another guy that they can rotate in. Jaquan McMillan has been outstanding, especially when we're talking about like corners blitzing. Vance has been figuring out ways to bring him and Hufanga both off of the edge on opposite sides consistently over the last few weeks. So it's definitely going to be something to keep out. Jackson Dart is going to have to be on top of his protection calls and expect a lot of pressure early. This team loves to blitz. They love to bring 7 or more guys consistently. So it's going to be a tough one for sure.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that Dart hasn't really seen yet, against the Chargers, Saints, and the Eagles. I mean, he hasn't played against Khalil Mack. He hasn't played against Jalen Carter. So some of the best guys in the league, he didn't have to deal with. And I think that Benito, along with all of those other guys and finally being blitzed at a lot, is going to be a challenge for him. And I will say he's progressed significantly more quickly than I expected him to, which has been great. But I think this week will be the ultimate test. But Vance Joseph is going to be at the top of my list now of defensive coordinators that I want for the Giants, because I loved Wink Martindale, and it sounds like they have a very similar approach. And all I keep thinking about is, with all the talent that this Giants defense has, especially the front 4, like, you got to be figuring out ways to really utilize them and blitz more. And I know so many Giants fans talk about, man, we would kill for Wink Martindale right about now because he'd be sending the house every time and it would be so worth it. But the Giants didn't make any changes at wide receiver. So, one of the issues that they've struggled with the last couple of weeks is the lack of separation. So you mentioned Pat Surtain is obviously one of the best corners in the league, and Jackson Dart is going to have to really be on it this week. And I'm a little worried that, outside of the Saints game, he's done a great job holding on to the ball. Kind of think that game was more of a fluke than anything. But I can absolutely see a Surtain interception this week, and I'm a little concerned about that.
I mean, I think quarterbacks have been targeting Pat a little bit more this season. Whether that's just out of bravery or whether they're seeing something. He's been targeted quite a bit. Last game not so much, but teams are not shying away from going at him. Now, if this team had Malik Neighbors, I would be a lot more excited to see the potential of this Giants offense with Malik Neighbors, and especially going up against a guy like Pat. Like, that's, best on best right there. But Riley Moss is another guy who can absolutely shut his side of the field down. This defense is really tough. They're really hard to throw the ball against. You're going to have to get it out quick. Honestly, the weapon that I feel like the Giants need to utilize this week is Theo Johnson. Like that guy is an absolute monster with the ball in his hands. And there's definitely there's going to be opportunities for them to attack the Broncos defense with Theo Johnson. They're going to put guys like Brandon Jones and Jahdae Barron on him. They might put a backer on him, just depending on what personnel they're in. But there's going to be opportunities there. So find ways to get the ball out quick for Dart. This is a team that loves to bring the blitz. So find where the soft spots are in the blitzes and attack them there. No one's perfect. This team is going to get beat. We've seen it this season. Teams love to attack them, love to attack the linebackers up at the second level. So I think Dart just has to get the ball out quick. Find ways to get Wan'Dale Robinson the ball, please. I'm begging for my fantasy team. Please find him ways to get the ball, because that's a guy I really like as well, and I think they can move him into the slot and potentially get some quick stuff from him. Just get the ball in his hands, please. Figure out ways to get the ball into your playmakers' hands quickly. But Vance is going to bring it all, and a Pat Surtain interception is very bold. But I don't hate it.
I hope I'm wrong. I'm a little worried that, Jackson Dart has done well under pressure up until this point, and that's one of the things that he was good at in college. But a Vance Joseph type of defense where you're not just worried about edge rushers blitzing your way and you're going to have to deal with cover zero and disguise coverages and things like that. I'm a little worried of 60 minutes of that. So,
understandable.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes. But like you said, they have to get the ball in the playmakers' hands, and the playmakers have to make plays. The Saints game was so infuriating to me, watching Bo Collins just stop his route and it results in an interception. Jalen Hyatt essentially almost did the same thing, led to another interception. So, little Jordan Humphrey this week, I think, is going to help. They added Juice Wells, a former Ole Miss player, to the practice squad. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm with you. I want Wan'Dale to get more involved. I had him on my fantasy for a couple weeks and then I dropped him. I also had Bo Nix as my starting quarterback. When he threw those 3 interceptions, I was like, you're killing me, bro. Like, I gotta switch it up here. So now I'm riding with DJ and I'm 0-6, but DJ has played well.
It's hard out here. This fantasy season has been really crazy. Former Bronco, Lil Jordan Humphrey. I think that's going to be a good addition for them, especially this week. He's going to have a little more insight into what Vance Joseph does on the defensive side of the ball. He's also going to be able to help the offense out or help the defense out for the Giants, talking about the Broncos offense and what they like to do as far as run scheme goes and, route combinations and stuff like that. He's got a lot of experience. He's one of Sean Payton's guys. So this is going to be I feel like this could be a good game for Lil Jordan. Get him involved too. We love to see him. Broncos fans, for some reason, do not love Lil Jordan Humphrey. I loved that dude. That's a guy that is like the coach's favorite. Like, he's gonna block his ass off, and he'll, when he gets the ball, he's gonna make stuff happen. He was one of our best guys after the catch for the last 2 years. So just super consistent, but man, blocks his butt off every single play.
Giants fans feel that way about Evan Ingram because he dropped a potential game-winning touchdown against the Eagles. So a couple plays like that, couple bad drops, and we're like, we're done with you, man. So who knows? Maybe it's going to be a Humphrey versus Ingram revenge game.
There you go. Yeah, that's your key matchup to watch right there.
Yes, for sure. With that being said, we'll go ahead and round it out on this. If you had to make a final prediction, I believe the spread is 7.5 points.
Yeah.
Who are you taking?
So I was crunching the numbers. Today. And I don't love how my score came out, but this was my mathematical equation of how it came out. I was looking at, EPA and, all their points averages and special teams EPA and all that stuff today. And the final score that I came out to was Broncos 32, Giants 14. And I don't think that the Broncos put up that many points. I think it probably ends up being somewhere around 24 or 21 points when it's all said and done. But I have to stick with my math because really hasn't skewed me that far up until last week. But 32-14 was my mathematical prediction. I'll say for this show 24. Let's go 24-17 Broncos.
Okay. I think that's a pretty fair prediction. I'm looking at FanDuel right now, and the spread is down to 7 points as opposed to 7.5. So I'll take that. The Broncos are, of course, the favorites at home, minus 340. Giants are plus 275. And we have no touchdown scores yet, but I think I'm going with a Theo Johnson anytime touchdown scorer. I think he can go for it this week. He had 3 touchdowns in 2 games. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about him. And I think they are going to struggle a little bit to run the ball. So they got to get the ball to the receivers and the tight ends. But until the Giants win back-to-back games, I cannot pick them to win this game. I've watched too much Giants football and I've been way too disappointed. And even though I think there's some good matchups here and I think the Giants can be competitive and they have a chance at winning, until they do it, I won't believe it. So I'm with you. I could see the Broncos around 24. I think the Giants could score a couple touchdowns and maybe it's, 24-20 or 24-17 because Jude McAtumney hit some field goals for us.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. I throw, once the props come out, like, let's see, my JFM, my John Franklin Myers sack hit last week. So let's go Kayvon Thibodeau sack, duck on duck crime. Let's go. Once the props open up, go Kayvon Thibodeau sack. I think that'd be my bold bet for this week.
Before the Saints game, I did Abdul, Burns, and Thibodeau. I'm like, one of them's bound to get a sack. 0 for 3. And I was like, that's my fault. I'm not betting on sacks anymore. It's 100% my fault. That's why no one got a sack.
It's tough. It's a tough one to bet on because you're like, is it going to happen? Nick Bonito's sack is the only one that's almost guaranteed every week at this point.
Yes, that's one that is definitely safe to go into this game taking.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and tell us where we can find you, your podcast, and everything like that before you go.
Yeah, you can find my work over at Bleav in the Broncos on the Bleav Network. You can also find me on Twitter at Patrick Chiotti, just Chiotti. And you can find some more of my work over at letstalkbroncos.com.
Awesome. I'll link everything in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on and enjoy this weekend. Good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I like to end off these ones with the signature for the other team. So go Big Blue.
Love it. Go Giants. There you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the episode with Patrick. It was so great to be able to hear from someone who is involved with the Broncos, knows everything about them, and could give us all the inside scoop on what we as Giants fans need to be prepared for on Sunday. So thank you guys for listening. One more shout out to FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 place to make all of your sports betting needs. Like I said, the Broncos are minus 340 to win this. The Giants are plus 275, and the spread is 7 points. If you are feeling confident, you think the Giants can win 2 in a row for the first time since 2023, go ahead and place your money on the Giants money line at plus 275, but make sure to always bet responsibly. Thank you guys for listening. I'll be back next week with a Giants Broncos recap.